Right, welcome to this week's episode of from the Finchale End, and delighted to welcome John Hastings all the way from Melbourne. How are you, mate?
Ash, how are you, mate? I'm going all right. Bright and early over here, so I'm looking forward to having a chat.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Once again, thanks for joining us. We'll have a little bit of a chat around how you got into your cricket over there in Australia, and then how that progressed a little bit through into professional cricket, and then we'll have a little chat about your time at Durham as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. I look forward to it.
Good stuff, mate. So, I mean, Australia, cricket, it goes hand in hand. So, how did cricket start for John Hastings?
Well, I grew up on a little bit of land and grew up in a sort of a rural area. So, sport was massive, whether it was rugby league or rugby union. I had a lot of golf courses back in the day as well. So, for me, Dad played a bit of cricket. He was always very, very competitive at whatever he did. So that was one thing that he taught me. He always wanted to win, that's for sure. So I got into it pretty early. I wanted to go down and play when I was 6, but they had an age limit in Penrith, where I was born and raised, at the foot of the Blue Mountains in Sydney. So I went back again the next year. I was 7. They said no. So I went. Finally, they let me play when I was 8. So I played a couple of years young in the under-9s. That was our first sort of taste of it. And then my dad was coach. We won back-to-back premierships in the under-9s. And then from then on, I was just hooked. But, I love cricket right throughout. But I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I went to lucky enough to go to a pretty decent sports school in St Dominic's College in Kingswood in Penrith. And whether it was rugby league or rugby union or cricket, that was something that I did. Summer was cricket, winter was football. Not football. Obviously, you guys call football a little bit something a little bit different over there. But that was sort of how I got into it. And then from then on, I just absolutely love cricket and all sorts of sports.
Brilliant stuff, mate. I think it's important as well to play those multi-sports as well. It teaches you loads of different skills as kids, and I hate seeing kids at the moment that are getting pushed one way into the other and getting too serious about one sport. I think it's so important to get those cross skills in different sports.
Oh, spot on, mate. I think it's hugely important. I loved it when I was a kid. I had every opportunity to be outside. I wasn't sitting behind a computer screen. I was just loving life in the outdoors and playing footy. I would have loved to have played rugby, but I was just never tough enough, mate. So
I know the feeling. It's my favourite, mate. The Raiders got up over the Chooks this morning too, so I was happy with that. Very, very happy.
Yeah, I saw that last night. It was very good.
But we'll move on to cricket. So progressing through the ranks out in Sydney's West, how did the move to Victoria come about? So you obviously played your junior cricket in New South Wales and then shifted to Victoria. Run me through that one.
Yeah, I sort of I played a lot of second 11 cricket. I played, I debuted in the first 11 for Hawkesbury when I was sort of 16, and then I didn't really kick on those probably from 17 to 19. I was sort of there and thereabouts. I got picked in a second 11 game to go down to play Victoria, and it was at Central Reserve. I went out there. I think I was 20 at the time. So it was the 3rd year I had as a rookie contract. And I think I could have had one more, and then I would have had to step up into a full contract. But I played at Central Reserve. I did okay. I took a few wickets and got a few runs. And the Victorian coach, Greg Shippard, was there, and he was watching. The very next season, I went over and played in Wimbledon, played some club cricket over in the UK, and I absolutely loved my time over there. It was, that's sort of where I fell in love with the UK and being over there, and just the way of life and the way of cricket, and it suited me down to the ground. So, I went over to play in Wimbledon for that summer. I think it was 2006. I think it would have been 2005 or 2006. And a phone call from Greg Shippard. He said, Dave Hussey's on his way down from Notts. He's going to meet you at Wimbledon. We'll watch the tennis together, and he's going to, just explain how Victoria works, and we'd love you to come down. And I was like, okay, no worries. That sounds pretty good to me. I'll go over and meet, one of the greats of the game in Dave Hussey. So he came down. We had a good day at Wimbledon, and then Victoria had a young side they sent over, like a Tattersalls young cricketers tour over to England.
Yeah.
So I met with them halfway through that Wimbledon season and did okay, and then signed for Victoria, and then I moved down to Victoria in 06, and I've been here ever since. I haven't gone back to Hawkesbury where I'm from. I've just absolutely loved it down here. I think it's a totally different place to where I grew up. I grew up on, as I said, a bit of land in Hawkesbury, and there's not much going on out there. But down in Melbourne, there's so much more to do. There's loads of sport. There's heaps of bars and pubs and nightlife to get around in, and there's loads of cafes and good food and stuff as well. So I absolutely fell in love with Melbourne and stayed here ever since.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Speaking of cafes, you want to give a little plug as to what's going on in your life right now?
Yeah, mate. You'll see me out the back doing dishes most times, mate. I won't be out the front. I've been sacked. My wife runs it. It's called Mr. Frankie. It's where we live now in Frankston South, down on the Mornington Peninsula.
Beautiful.
But it's hard work, trying to please people far out. Sometimes I just have to bite my tongue and walk out the back and just go and do some dishes. Because it's hard work trying to please everyone, but we do our best, mate.
Very good, mate. Very good. So Victoria, how long was it before you were playing kind of first-class cricket for Victoria once you moved down there?
I struggled initially. It wasn't that I was homesick or anything like that. It was just it was a different sort of cricket down here in Victoria, in club cricket. I was used to the wickets being really good in Sydney, and down here in Melbourne it's still a little bit tacky, and they could be wet at times, and they weren't quite as good. And the bowlers were very skillful, and it was hard. So the first couple of years I was dreadful. I honestly thought I was just about to pack my bags and go back to Hawkesbury. I probably should have taken a little bit more serious than I did as well. I had a good time for those 2 years when I was down here. You met a lot of people, and you'd find me half a leg in the bar and half a leg on the cricket pitch most times. But I got back together towards the back end of my second year in my contract, and debuted, played against my old state, got 5 for, and then the rest was history. It took me a while to sink in the right way to go about it. I had a few injuries, and until I pulled my head in and worked really hard on my body and worked hard on my cricket. I was only young. I was a young kid coming down, mate, from a country town and into the big smoke, and just saw all the bright lights and wanted to see what everything was all about. And when I finally got it all together, it was good. It was good fun, and I knuckled down, and that was one of the things I really pride myself on, was my work ethic, and the rest sort of took care of itself. Then once I found a groove, I started to play some consistent cricket. It got to about 2009-10, so I had 2 pretty good seasons for Victoria, and 2009-10 was probably still my best year that I had. And then I got picked for Australia later on that summer. So, it happened quickly, but once I switched on and knew what it was all about, then it sort of was a lot better.
Brilliant stuff. And that led to a bit of dominance as well from Victorian cricket, didn't it? He's had a great period there for a good few years with a pretty settled side, some old heads, and it's just seemed that new younger guys would come through all the time when somebody like a Quiney or somebody like that would retire.
Yeah.
You had young players coming through and really stepping up to the mark.
Oh, it was an amazing side. It was seriously one of the better sides I've ever played in, and that's right up there with some of the Australian teams I played in. It was just ridiculous. You had Cam White, Brad Hodge, Andrew McDonald, Mickey Lewis, Shane Harwood. You name it, we had them. Damien Wright, who played a lot for us. We had Clint Mackay, Dirk Nannes. The list was endless. Chris Rogers. Yeah. And I'm missing some as well.
You've got Huss as well to throw into that.
Dave Hussey as well. You throw into that. Matty Wade, you throw into that. So Pete Siddle, James Pattinson. So the side we had was ridiculous. But I think the thing that we were able to build was over sort of a 10-year period, and even stemmed before us. The guys that when I got into the side, it was all about, if you have something to say, you got to say it. You don't leave anything, unsaid. You be very honest with each other, and you sort of have each other's backs the whole way along. and that was really, it was very different to anything I'd ever experienced in Cricket New South Wales. You know, a lot of their stuff was, they're so spread out all across the place, and it's hard to connect with the guys after training. They sort of disappear and do their own thing, and it's a little bit more separate than it was in Victoria. Yeah. It was sort of a lot closer with each other. We'd make effort to go and see each other. You know, you're sort of in and around pockets of town you're 5 minutes away from a lot of the blokes, whereas in Sydney it's quite spread out, and they're quite.
And with the traffic.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Add the traffic, and you sit in your car for 40 minutes to try and have a feed with one of your teammates. So
yeah.
But yeah, I just the side that we had was amazing. You know, my first 5 years we had it was still the Big Bash state versus state.
Yeah.
We made 5 finals. We won 4 of those. Then 2008-9 we won Sheffield Shield. 2009-10 we went back to back. Had a couple of years to rebuild, and then 3 in a row Sheffield Shields. You know, throw in a couple of one-day titles along the way as well, and it's sort of like, you know, we were very lucky. But yeah, it was some seriously good times. But you know, we had a great leader in Greg Shippard and Cameron White. Cameron White's probably one of the best cricket brains that I've ever played with. He just, you know, he was switched on. He knew, especially my game as well. He knew what was good for me, and so that helps when you have a leader in the side like that who knows everyone's game inside and out and who's tactically brilliant. Yeah, it helps massively. And then, you know, once you win, you get to have a lot of parties along the way as well, and no one really cares what you do after you win. So that was sort of those are the days.
Meetings. Beautiful.
That's it. Exactly. Winners have parties, losers have meetings, isn't it?
That's it. That's the one. That is the one. Yeah. Great stuff. So you mentioned there that you were selected for Australia. How did you get the news on that? Did you get a phone call, or was it kind of through, I don't know, Fox or whatever? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, it was it was 2010. It was sort of before a summer. I had a really good year beforehand, and I played a bit of one-day cricket before I played any sort of longer formats for Victoria. So I'd been in the one-day side for a little bit, and I think they had quite a few injuries. And it was a tour out of the blue that was in, I think it was October or November in 2010. I'm pretty sure it was. It might have been 2011, but I think Clint Mackay was injured. I think Mitchell Starc and I debuted in the same game over in Vizag in India. It was meant to be a 3 one-day series over in India. 2 of them got washed out. It was that time of year. I don't know why they scheduled it, but it was just one of those things that you go, okay, Indian cricket say, yep, you've got to do this, and Cricket Australia say, yes, okay, no problem, and off they go. Yeah, a bit of the all up. So yeah, we went over there, and it was two games got washed out. We had a game in Goa, got washed out. The middle game we played in Vizag, and I remember, you know, I think it was, as I said, Mitchell Starc was there. He debuted in my same game. Doug Bollinger had a bit of a niggle, so he missed. And I just remember getting my cap, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. What am I doing here? I couldn't believe it. And, you know, we lost that game very narrowly. I think Cam White got 100, or he got 90 odd. Michael Clark got 100, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And then I think I got Virat Kohli on about 110 or 115 or something. And then I got MS Dhoni the very next ball. And I just, you know, that's sort of the moments where you go, far out, is this really happening? What's going on here? But it gave me a taste of where I wanted to go, and how I was going to get there. I didn't really know at that stage, but you know, that sort of kept me driving and kept me going for the next few years to try and get back there.
Unreal, mate. Super stuff. And the Baggy Green joined. Unfortunately, the one Baggy Green club. A good mate of mine, Matty Nicholson's in that club as well. But yeah, talk me through that build up to the first test. It was in Perth, right?
It was, yeah. It was 2012. It was at the back end of the South Africa series, and Peter Siddle and Ben Hilfenhaus had bowled a mountain of overs. You know, I think Faf batted for nearly. I think he batted for It was a whole day. Yeah, it was a day and a half. I think it was like 10 hours or something like that to save a test. And Sid, there was footage of him running in, and he's he's on his haunches and he's exhausted trying to break through for that last wicket. And they held on for a draw, and then I think he had a tight hammy, and I think Hilfenhaus had a bit of a sore leg as well. So they took Josh Hazlewood and myself over to Perth, and I'd come off some really good cricket. I'd had the previous year I was out for 18 months with a shoulder reconstruction, and then I started the games. I got 5 for 5 for, I think I got 80 odd and 70. So I was in good form, and come off a bit of good cricket before I'd hurt my shoulder. But I still remember going to the nets, and we went down for the team meeting 3 days before the game, and I just saw Ricky Ponting pacing up the top, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's going on here? You know, young kids coming into the team. Josh and I sort of sat up the back, and yeah, Punter was quite emotional up the front, and he said, righto boys, this is going to be my last test. And, you know, sort of broke down and was very emotional 3 days leading in, but it was kind of good that we got to sort of sit under the radar and just go about our business, and it was all about Punter, which was good, because we were shitting ourselves anyway. We were just going, we're in the big time. One of us is going to debut for Australia. I'm not sure. They made a good decision in choosing me over Josh Hazlewood, though. He hasn't gone on to do anything, has he?
No, he's
average. I think he ended up having a stress fracture in his foot. Yeah, I got the nod. Adam Gilchrist came down. I still didn't know I was going to play until about 5 minutes before the game. Michael Clark came over. He said, oh, mate, by the way, congratulations, you're going to play. And I was like, oh. Right, I dropped the shopping and went. I was no good at all throughout the warm-up. And Adam Gilchrist came, and, we got a special bond now. Every time I see Gilly, it's, about presenting the hat and have a beer with him, and we've got that bond now, which is awesome. But yeah, I went out, did the warm up, came out. I think we won the toss. It was a tinge of green on the whacker, which was great. But I hadn't opened the bowling for Victoria for about 18 months, and Michael Clark goes, "Oh, by the way, you're going to open the bowling from the Inverity." And I went, "Sorry, what? Sorry, what was that?" I think my first ball went down leg side. I was nowhere. I was pretty nervous, and then I bowled an absolute pile of poop before lunch. I went out in the lunch break, and I was with Craig McDermott, was the bowling coach then, and we got on really well. And he just sort of said, "Mate, you're not being yourself." He goes, "Just charge in and hit the wicket." And I said, "All right, no worries." So I went out, practiced it in the lunch break, went straight back out afterwards, and then I started bowling a lot better, hit the wicket harder, my pace was a bit better, I was sort of settled in a little bit more, and then, I think I bowled okay in the first dig. I had Hashim Amlar dropped at mid-wicket by Ed Cowan. I still haven't spoken to Ed since, but I think I was 1 for 50 in the first dig, and then came the batting. And I had Morkel and Stain charging in at me, and I was facing Philander, so I thought instead of facing, Morkel, I went back, pushed one to straight to point. Faf picked it up one-handed, and I dived to get in my crease, and I popped the facet joint in my back.
Oh,
so I was like, no. So I've got up, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm no good here, and that was it. And then I had to go out and bowl in the second innings, and I missed a month of cricket after that test with this facet joint in my back. So I had a bit of unlucky times throughout that, but you never know what could have been. If I'd sort of stayed fit through that and been good in the second innings, I might have got another crack, because it turned out Jackson Bird debuted and did really well after that. So you never know what might have been, but yeah, that was my taste of Test cricket. It was good fun.
Unreal effort to grab one of those baggy greens, mate. How many now? That 300 not, isn't it? Or
I think they're up to around about 450 odd, I think now. Right. So yeah, it's they gave them out there for a little bit in the last sort of, I think maybe 20 games, but I think they're pretty settled now, which is good.
Yeah. No, that's unreal effort. Talk to me about how county cricket came on the scene for you then. So you're playing away in Victoria, and then opportunities come up overseas.
Yeah, first up, I was actually meant to go to Sussex um, before I had the connection with Durham. But I had to get ankle surgery. I had a little clean out, and then I just remember. I remember actually, I was thinking about it last night. I had the phone call um, from Judge Johnny Lewis, and I was standing out the front of my house just saying, "Oh, this would be awesome." I'm thinking about it, going, "Yeah, I'd love to." And I'd heard a lot about it, Durham from Mick Lewis and a few other guys that had been up that way and played county cricket, and it was sort of on the horizon. And I thought, this sort of sounds like my kind of place. I'd love to get up there and have a crack. And the conversations went really well. I sort of said, what do you want out of me? What do you want me to bring over there? And, just sort of, be yourself. We really want to try and focus on our white ball stuff. We haven't been great in T20. We haven't been great in one days over the last few years, but play a bit of red ball stuff and just bring that hardness over that you bring, and we'll see how we go. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And it was always something that I'd want to do. Yeah. And it was always something that I'd spoken about. But yeah, when the phone call finally came, I jumped at the chance. I absolutely couldn't wait to get over there, and my wife and I packed up and moved over. And ever since the day that I got there, we were made very welcome. It was an awesome place to live. I just love the people in the northeast. It was just a really good time. I had a ball up there.
Yeah, whereabouts did you live when you were in the northeast?
The first time we were over there, we lived at Plawsworth Hall, so just up from the Red Lion. You got the Church Mouse on the left, and we went up Plawsworth Hall, stayed up on it was a bit of a sheep farm sort of.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the place, but it was a beautiful spot. We loved it. It was sort of up the top of the hill overlooking. You could see back down to the ground and Lumley Castle and all that. So it was a nice, beautiful spot. Loved it.
Great stuff, mate. Great stuff. I was just going to say there, that memories of the northeast. You've mentioned the people there. I spoke to Dean Jones a couple of weeks ago, and he was the same. He reckons that his quote was, "The further north you go, the better the people were." He reckoned anyway. You might have said a few you Worcester people here, so I'm not gonna throw you under the bus here. But he loved his time up here as well, and he mentioned the people. Is there anything that you can think that other reasons why that you felt so at home in the northeast?
Apart from all the boys being very welcoming and all the families being very welcoming, like as soon as we got there, we were over to Collie's house and Judge's house, and Vicky and Fee were there, and we just connected really well. And Mark and Serene Stoneman were really good friends of ours, along with the Rushworths and everyone really. It was just a really good club feel, and that's what you want to try and build when you want to try and have success, but also you want to try and build that when you want a really healthy place to go and play and go and work. So, for me, it was a no-brainer. It was an absolutely stunning place to live. I loved it up in the northeast. I love Newcastle. I love Durham. I got taken under the wing very early with Collie and Rushy about.
Just going to mention. I was going to say you've got to mention Sunderland, yeah.
on the Sunderland side of the fence. So went and saw a few games. Remember. I think it was the first game of the season. It was Manchester Sunderland, and we went up and watched that. And then I got to a derby as well, which was awesome. So I got to watch Sunderland, Newcastle. Those sort of memories were they're bucket list sort of stuff for me. So to get to experience that sort of stuff, and it's just so different to anything at home. It's hard to explain how different it is and why it's so different. But I think the difference was I enjoyed being the person to sort of turn to or have different ideas on things. I like that. We had a great side as well at Durham. It was unreal. You have a look at it now, and a lot of those guys have gone on to play for Australia. Rushy that was the year he got 100 wickets in the season, and I would stand at mid-off and he'd go, "Watch this, I'm just going to bowl a bit of a leg cutter here," and his off pole will go out of the ground. I say, "Okay, here we go. Righto, mate, no problem."
He knows what's
Sure enough, his off pole will go out of the ground. I go, "How the hell did you do that?" So I learned a lot of him in terms of bowling. You throw in in Bunny Youngins as well.
Yeah.
Stokes, Mark Wood, Colley, Borthwick, Stoneman, Keaton Jennings. The list goes on. Even Richo, Colonel Mustard. It was an amazing side, and it was really well led by Wacky and Judge as well. So for me to come into that side and try and play a part, it was easy. I just sort of fit in and had a job to do and went about sort of getting on and doing that job. So I absolutely thoroughly loved my time at Durham. I wish it could have gone on for a lot longer, but it was for that year and a half. I came back the season after as well, and probably my biggest regret would be not staying on for the One Day Cup final. I remember playing. There was a game we played. We had to beat Yorkshire in a knockout to get through and to go and be in finals day. And I just remember the boys talking about it, and they'd won one previously a few years back, and how good it was and the memories I had. And I just would have loved to have got there. But that was sort of, I had to honour a contract that I had before I was at Durham. But it turns out, the boys went on and won. And I remember ringing a few of them when I was over, sitting in the hotel room in Dubai, and I was sort of, it was a big one, and they deserved it thoroughly. But I was spewing. That was probably my one biggest regret the whole time I was playing over in England. Was that I didn't get to play in that One Day Cup final. But the boys did us proud anyway, and we went on to win. So that was the main thing.
It was a brilliant day, and you mentioned the final, mate. We were down there, so there was a bus full of my club. There was a bus full from Sacriston, which was just up from where you were living.
So good. Yeah.
We were all, there was about 50 or 60 of us all kind of sat together, and the day it kind of ebbed and flowed throughout the day. It was a horrible day. Like the sun never appeared all bloody day. The lights were on from minute one. And to see Breezy leave that one and off the middle of the down the third, mate, what a
fitting way to go out. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and then you had in Breezy as well. You had in Mochi, Gordon Mocha was there. It was it was amazing, and I just remember getting updates and things from people in the crowd, and how much it meant to the people of the Northeast to go down there and have a team in it and at Lords, and just to miss that, I was kicking myself. But to see how much and how fun it was for everyone, and it was great. It was great to watch. I just wish I would have been there.
Well, hopefully you took some satisfaction in getting the boys to that point, because you're obviously a big part of that run as well.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, it was awesome to see, but they thoroughly deserved it. It was amazing.
It was a good day. It was a good day. Anyway, is there anything that you miss? You're probably going to say the people here. Anything you miss about the Northeast? It definitely won't be the weather.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm looking out the window here in Melbourne. It's not too flash either. It's probably three or 4 degrees out here, and it's middle of winter, so that's not too bad. Though I think I remember my first game I played. It was against the Unis, and I think I had long sleeves on. I had an undershirt. I had
every layer.
I had 2 jumpers, and it was sleeting. And I'm thinking, geez, this is not a great decision to come up here and play cricket. But no, I do. I loved all the members that came out and sat in front of the change rooms as well, and just having a bit of banter with them, and same 50, 60 faces were always there. And I just remember how every day, that thick and thin, whether it's raining or whether it's sleeting, they'll be there. And that's the thing I sort of loved, and that's how you build a great club over time, is just having those people that you come and you want to try and perform for as well, because you know how much it means to them. And then you go back into that change room and you have a think about it, and you go, all right, well, let's go out there and have a crack today, and every day. But I missed the club. From everyone, from Ian in the lunchroom to everyone down to the front office staff, and it was just awesome. I love going into the Jets bar afterwards and having that atmosphere, having a couple of beers, and then heading off afterwards. And just the boys. I'll never forget my time at Durham. I had a really, really good time. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it, and my wife did as well. She was made to feel very, very welcome, and it was just an awesome place to come and play cricket. But it was an awesome place to live as well. I love getting around in at Durham. It was a beautiful town, and then going into the shopping centres, Newcastle. And it's just they're experiences that I'll have for a lifetime, and that's sort of the stuff that I really, really enjoyed. I just loved being over there and having a crack for Durham. It was good.
Great stuff. Appreciate that, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers will love to hear that, which is great. I'm going to run you through a series of questions that I've done with the other boys.
Yeah.
So, in your time at Durham, what were your favourite grounds to play at?
I actually love the Riverside. That is seriously one of my favourite places to play. I just always felt at home there and loved playing there. Obviously the big ones, Lords, but yeah, as far as Chester Lee Street, that was right up there with me as well. For whatever reason, I don't know. I just felt good every time I was going out there, and it helped that we'd had a bit of success as well. I think sometimes when you're looking at a club or a ground, you go, "Oh, where's the most times you play well?" And I've sort of associated that with the Riverside. So I love that. I loved Headingley as well. There's some good battles with Yorkshire along the times. So yeah, I'd probably say those two. And I actually loved the week we had at Scarborough as well. You know, I loved going up there. It was a beautiful part of the world, and the wicket was good. It was good. It was a good day. I think young Jackie Burnham, debuted that day as well. So we got to see a pretty unique talent come through, which was good.
Yeah, he is. He's a very talented boy, and hopefully we get to see lots more of him over the coming years. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. No doubt, he's a talented lad. Nicknames, mate. What are you known by?
Hasto's probably the number one, I reckon, or Duke. I think Duke was probably the second one. That was I think before my mum, I was born. I think my mum had a C-section, and before mum could even go down and write anything on the birth certificate, I think Dad had already done it. It was John Wayne, so the old country and western. So he used to watch a fair bit of country and western. So I think it was John Wayne, the Duke, and he was known as. So that sort of stuck along the second part of my journey.
Love it. Great stuff.
Yeah.
If you could pick 3 of your Durham teammates for a night out, who'd be on the roster?
Oh, that is a tough question. That is a very tough question. There's some seriously good contenders. Jeez. I'd probably have to say Rocky, Mark Stoneman, Stokesy. It's a toss-up. You know, Colley's probably right up there with Rushy as well. I think that's a big night. Yeah, that is. I'd have to say those 3. I reckon, or 4. Yeah, for
dangerous
sure.
Night. We'll flip that round and we'll go on the quiz side, mate. Who wouldn't you want? Give me 3 Durham teammates who you wouldn't want in your quiz team.
Phil Mustard is probably number 1. God love him. I love the Colonel. Who else would not have in the quiz team? Probably Jackie Burnham, I would think. I'm not sure he's known too much trivia. Who else have we got there? I reckon Bunny would be home. Probably Scotty. I reckon Badger. He'd be no good on trivia. I reckon Scotty Borthwick. He'd be no good on the trivia.
Right. Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Who was the tightest, mate? Who's my roundophobic? Who'd be the last to get a beer in?
Oh, jeez. Last to get a beer in. So the first to the poker table would be Colonel, that's for sure. So he'd set it up at the back there. To get a beer in, geez, I don't know. It's a tough one. Maybe Mochi.
Oh, okay.
Might be a bit harsh on him actually. He'll probably text me later and go, "Hang on a sec, what's that?"
Great stuff. I'll tell you who the main contender from your time span there is. Bunny's been mentioned a few times as well.
Yeah.
Not that I want to throw anyone under the bus, but.
Actually, I'll probably retract that and go Bunny. Yeah, that's a good
call. We'll just edit all this out and we'll just go straight to the Bunny. Brilliant,
absolutely.
Mate. Last couple of questions for you, mate, and I'll let you on your way to start your day there in Melbourne.
No, you're right, man.
If you won the lottery and became a millionaire, the first thing you'd spend your money on?
I've been thinking of a lot about this lately with COVID shutting down a couple of my businesses. Yeah, I've always said I'd wanted to look after my mum because she's she's been a supporter right throughout the whole journey. So I'd love to try and buy her a little house and send her off into retirement. That'd probably be the one thing that I'd love to do, mate.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably take a whole heap of mates over to Vegas or somewhere like that, or go to the races in Hong Kong and spend a bit of coin.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. I was lucky enough. Me and the missus and the young fella went to Vegas just before lockdown, and absolutely loved it. Absolutely.
How good!
It'd be chaos with the boys, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a seriously good joint.
Absolutely, absolutely. And last question, mate, is if there was an actor to play John Hastings in the role of John Hastings throughout your life, who would that be?
That's a good question. I reckon they'd have to be bald. Probably maybe Bruce Willis.
Oh, nice, good.
Yeah.
I asked Rushy the same question. I thought he would come out with Bruce Willis. He went straight to...
Well, there you go. That was going to be my other one.
Yeah. I don't know what the issue is, right? There's some shininess going on from the pair of us at the moment. But,
you're not wrong.
All good, mate. All good. Hey, so I really want to thank you for your time, mate. Appreciate it. Wish you all the best in your health. Hope everything is good on that front, because I know you're a bit crook when you had to stop playing cricket. But wish you all the best for your future, mate. Take care, and we'll hopefully catch up again soon.
No, I appreciate it, Ash, and I just want to say good day to all the people in the Northeast as well, and I appreciated the support when I was over there, and hopefully one day I'll be able to get back and come and have a beer and watch the boys in the stands at some stage. It'd be lovely. Stay safe, mate.
Sounds good. Good on you, Paul. Take care. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers, Ash.
Cheers, mate.